everyone, and welcome to Season 2 of the Orange Team Podcast. I'm Mitch, he's Leighton, and as you can see, we're seated on the same couch.
Yeah, this is pretty exciting. We've been planning this for a little while. Surprise! For your audio listeners, we're on the same couch. We're recording together at an undisclosed location,
But a new one.
A new one, yes. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So, I mentioned in the last episode of Season 1 that there were some changes on the horizon. One of them was what you see here. I'm in a new house. I'm no longer recording from my basement because we have the room for it. So it's a very nice breath of fresh air. Got an office, again, as opposed to a basement. And it's just been a crazy couple of months. And I think that's something we're going to talk about really coming up here soon. It is just a season of change. Lots of different things in the works, lots of different things kind of falling into place or deciding what the future is going to look like. And I'm really excited. I don't want to speak for Leighton. I'm pretty sure he's excited.
Yeah, I'm excited. There's so much coming down the pipeline, but not just for the podcast for sure, but also just in our own lives. And we'll delve a little bit of that, not too much, but yeah, we definitely want to share a little bit of the exciting stuff going on. And but we've got a few other topics we got coming up as well that you'll get to hear about. But so new home, that's exciting. I don't know. I'm trying to think of all the other new things going on.
Oh man, well, let's just talk about what we've been enjoying lately.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Just get right into it.
Yeah.
I feel like this water bottle is going to fall, so I'm going to move it. Having you and your family here has been awesome. It's been good to watch our kids interact. Mm-hmm. And that's been something that's been long in coming, And so it's really cool to see them playing on the swing set or whatever and just creating memories, kind of reminding me of trips I took as a young one. But one thing we've been doing in the evenings is playing Switch games, playing couch co-op, which is one of Theme Dream's major initiatives, goals. I don't know what you would call it, but we've been able to practice what we preach to some degree, and it's been awesome. So in terms of me and what I've been enjoying, Leighton brought his Switch loaded up with way more games than I've got for my Switch, and it included Jackbox, the Jackbox Party Pack, which we've been playing when the kids go to bed.
Yeah, not quite child appropriate at certain times.
Little PG-13. Good friends, good memories.
Yep.
And we've been playing Boomerang Fu, which is something I had never even heard of. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so I learned about it from watching some guys on YouTube, the Underdogs, and it just seemed like such a good, fun party game, and it was on sale, so I bought it, and now it's become a staple in my household. The kids love it. Essentially, it's a top-down viewing game where you can be like these little avatars that are like fruit or French fries or just food products, basically, and you have a boomerang. And it's you can either slash or you can throw the boomerang, and that seems simple but until you get into power-ups. And then suddenly your boomerang has fire, or suddenly you can teleport to your boomerang after it's thrown, or you throw boomerangs explode into multiple boomerangs. And it just becomes chaos. It's just controlled chaos. You can go up to 6 players, which is really fun for couch co-op, and the kids have just gone wild on that game. We did a little bit,
2v4.
Yeah, we had the dads versus the kids, which was kind of fun. And they actually, we were thinking, we'll totally win. Yeah. We'll give them a chance by having 4 versus us. They held their own.
So the first set was a little more definitive. I think they didn't start putting points on the board until we had almost won. They did get to about halfway. It's 10 points to win. Mm-hmm. But then that second set, they came out of the gate swinging. They had figured it out, and they'd figured out how we played. And then all of a sudden, we were down by 5. Yeah. And it was oh, this isn't good.
Oh, no, our honor is at stake.
Yeah, we were proud, but also ashamed. It was great.
Yeah, we flew too close to the sun.
A little bit of Icarus, yeah.
A little Icarus. But, no, it was fun. It was a good time. And yeah, we've been playing it. We're going to probably play some more. And no, it's a great game. Highly recommend. I don't know what systems it's on outside of Switch. I'm sure it's on other systems. Great game if you want to do some couch co-op. Simple, easy to pick up. It plays through multiple maps too, so like each map is different. So there's some maps where the map gets smaller and there's water around you. There's moving maps. There's just a lot of different variation that can change the way you play the game. And so you never feel like you've played the same round. You always feel like every game's a little different because you get different power-ups. And so great time, great family memories.
Yeah. It reminded me a little bit of Smash Brothers because of the power-ups, because they tend to really define gameplay. Like, you've got the core boomerang, but when your boomerang's exploding or freezing everyone in an AoE, it's a very different game.
Yeah.
You're blowing me up.
So yeah, there's friendly fire for some of it. Not the boomerangs necessarily, like you can throw boomerangs, but like some of them leave fire trails, and if you walk through them, friend or foe, you die. Ice, you freeze. Explosions, you blow up. It's pretty intense, and you definitely look it up on YouTube, find some videos, or just get the game. It's not that much money. It goes on sale. Just a good time with the family, friends. I don't think it has online play, but it does have DLC, which I did buy. And that's just character packs, but they're pretty fun characters. So you get little hats and stuff to unlock and for your characters, so you can customize them.
Who developed Boomerang Fu?
Oh gosh, I feel so bad. I see the name pop up every time.
Yeah.
I don't remember, but I think they've made a few other things. So
I just want to say, hats off to them.
Yeah.
We'll put it in the description or something.
Or I might put the text on the screen.
Yeah.
If you're watching, audio listeners, just please look them up. They deserve your time.
But suffice it to say, they did it. Exactly what I want to do with Theme Dreams. Building just a great party game. Simple, easy to pick up. Kids, adults, everybody can play.
High replay value.
High replay value. Low barrier to entry. And the DLC isn't... It's not like they cut half the game off and then are selling it to you as DLC. The DLC is just like, hey, I really enjoy this game. I'm willing to spend a couple dollars to have a few different character skins and things like that. Like that's doing it right. And I really enjoyed it. I'll be picking it up for our Switch, and I'm sure, playing it long after you're gone.
Games like that, I like to support. So I don't mind buying the DLC, and it wasn't even that expensive. It was like, I don't know. I feel bad. I don't want to quote the wrong number, but I know it was pretty low. And so it's like, it's not, for the total package out the gate was still $10. So definitely, for games like that, I don't mind supporting like that, and like you said, they didn't gouge me by saying, oh, there's a whole modes behind paywalls kind of thing. So
yeah,
that's something that's kind of been lost in a lot of games now, I've noticed. I mean, a lot of the AAA games, I think I read recently there's a weapon in one of the new Call of Duties, like a King Kong crossover. It's $80 to get this Gorilla Glove weapon. I didn't read too much into it. All I saw was this $80 for a weapon in Call of Duty, and I was like, and it's literally more than the game for this thing.
Yeah,
and people were saying it's not even that good of a weapon.
Well, I was gonna say, is it gonna be like meta defining, or is it just aesthetic? I
think they purposely didn't want it to be like OP, but at the same time, by not making it that great of a weapon, it's kind of like, well, why would anyone want it? So. Right. To me, they've lost the plot. These guys are so focused on, and I know it's the publishers, not the developers. Developers are just doing what they have to do to make a living, and they're doing their best with it in the deadlines. But publishers are just looking at how much money can we crank out of people, and yeah, that's just where it's all going. It's getting out of hand, and people are pushing back. I'm seeing that there's like a shift towards more indie stuff. I heard someone use the term triple I for indie games.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, so like
it's single I, triple I.
There's like high level indie games now.
Yeah,
and so there's like triple I games, and there's like whole conventions for that. And I'm like, okay, we're seeing a shift now. Like things are a little bit more. I don't know, like the balance. It's returning back. It's like power to the gamers.
Nature is healing.
Nature is healing. So so that was a good game. But you also mentioned another game that we did play. That's very different than Boomerang Fu. And not everyone will know what Jackbox is, but it's essentially, it's a party game with a lot of games built into it, and you don't interact with it with a controller in a normal sense. So the system essentially just works as a display and a way to interact with the content, but you play on your phone. And essentially you're given, I'll give an example from one of the games where we're given a prompt, to respond to. We type in our answer, and then we kind of vote on which one we thought was the funniest without knowing who wrote it. And that was with Quiplash, which is a mini game inside of a Jackbox game. They're party packs. They've made 10 of them so far, so they've been doing pretty well. And so I feel like I'm not explaining it very well, but it's a very fun game because there's, again, barrier to entry is low. Most people, if not all people, have a smartphone now. Yeah. You just need an internet connection and a smartphone. You just go to a website, type in a code, and you're connected to the same game as what you see on your TV. And it's so many variety of it. There's like games that are drawing, there's games where it's typing, there's games where you're like, it's like mystery dungeon, no, not mystery dungeon, but mystery, murder mystery type things. There's so much variety, trivia. And what we were playing mostly was a specific game from Party Pack 4, so it's a little old, but it's still funny. It was called Survive the Internet. Yeah. Which was perfect for this guy because being the internet fiend that he is.
That aspires to be.
Yeah. Tell me about your experience with that game.
Well, so it was a pretty cool game, and what I really wanted to highlight with Jackbox was just how smartly it was put together. Because as you identified, it's not a game in the traditional sense. We didn't all need a controller. We didn't need. It wasn't reflex based. It was the ultimate party game, just a digital version of the sorts of games that you and your friends would play, maybe around the dining room table or gathered on a couch. And it was mostly about, making each other laugh or trying to, kind of like, I think it's called, not Taboo. There was one of those games about like you wanted to lie, but your lie needed to be the most convincing.
Oh, Fibbage.
Well, it's Fibbage. I was trying to think there's an actual tabletop version of that.
Yeah, and a lot of the games are variations of other games. So they're not necessarily all original games, but they kind of come with their own package and a little twist. And of course, in a more easy to use package, right? Because it's all digital, right? There's no physical thing you have to worry about. But you're right. Yeah, it's similar to other games.
Right. And I thought the smartest thing I saw was the fact that we could connect from anything. Phones, tablets. I pulled out my laptop and was able to actually log into the room. And then, because everybody's typing on their phones and tablets. And my phone was dying, so I just grabbed my laptop and went to the same URL. And I was able to log in and I could type. But the first question, after I got my keyboard out, I was only able to type the word "it," and then I accidentally hit enter. And so it's like, oh, Mitch has his keyboard. He's going to do paragraphs and crazy things. And it's like pops up, we were playing Survive the Internet. It was like, this review for this product is it.
It. And you end up winning because of just how absurd it was. But it was because you've been typing these massive, elaborate responses, and they were pretty funny, but obviously, like, the timer's running out, and we're like, Mitch, you got it done, you're not going to get it. So he's like, I'm switching to a keyboard. And the first prompts, it. So we're like, wow, good use of the keyboard, man.
Yeah. So I was betrayed.
You were betrayed, but it was a good time.
But yeah, and I was just, from a game design perspective, the idea of a game where it's obviously hosted somewhere on one of their servers, but it's got to be incredibly lightweight. It's just a series of API calls, and you're just navigating to a URL on your device, and the lobby's only open for a couple of minutes, and it's just some back and forth of really just text, sending text or commands back and forth of, oh, hey, select this picture or do this or whatever. It was just, from a design perspective, it was incredibly smart and obviously very effective because we had a very good time. And so that's kind of, again, feeds into the whole aspiration for couch co-op, but it just goes to show that it doesn't have to be a dinosaur hunt, split screen couch co-op game or a tower defense. It can be just a basic party game, and there's a massive market for that, especially more so in the post-COVID era, because obviously they saw a lot of success during COVID, but I think that stuck with people who maybe tried it for the first time while they were stuck at home and realized, hey, this is really fun. And once we can gather together again, we're going to probably keep playing this, when we see each other. And so party games, I think, are probably doing a renaissance right now, and not probably, almost guaranteed, because I was looking up some statistics on Jackbox's like sales numbers and like, what they were doing from 2020 on, or even as far back as 2013, and they're doing very well. So it's cool to see. Good for them.
Another thing that was really cool though is that we were playing an old game pack, and it's a very internet-based game. You do have to have an internet connection, but you can go back to the first party pack and still play those games.
Yeah,
they're not like, oh, we shut down the servers for that one because it's too old. Like, no, you can still log on and play it. That's super cool that they continue to support it and allow people to go back and play their old ones. Obviously, I don't know how long that will last. Eventually, one day they might have to, but they've supported it for a long time. I think that's admirable.
And yeah, it's just really smart. So that's a part of the design that I really did like, because I noticed that too, that we went back to like Jackbox Party Pack 4, and then we went forward to like Jackbox Party Pack 7 or 8 or something, and everything just worked seamlessly at the same URL. And so that, again, it's all very basic commands that are being sent back and forth through their API. And so there must just be a flag in there or like a version number. It says, hey, it's for this game. And then, I'm sure on the back end, they're, processing a little bit differently. But it was just so cool, and got me, as you can see, I've been thinking a lot about how they built it and how I might emulate it in the future potentially. So, it was a good experience. We really had fun. And, hopefully we'll play it again in the next couple days.
Yeah. So I don't know if we emphasized this at the beginning. I just want to clarify to the audio listeners and video listeners. This is our opening of season 2. We're here together, but sadly, this will not be the norm. This is just a special first episode. We will go back to the original setup where we're remoting in, but we're hoping to visit more often and do things, and who knows where things go in the future. But but it's been really great. It's been so great to actually hang out together. For those who don't know, we've been friends for a long time, back in high school. So this isn't we're just podcast buddies. We've been good friends, so it's been great just to catch up.
15 years.
At least. No, more than that. 16 or 17.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it was like 2007, 2008.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's been a long time, and lots changed.
Oh, yeah, I've got gray hair now.
Oh, yeah.
I got that going on.
Stress will do that.
Stress will do that. Kids, buying a house will do that.
Buying a house, kids will do that. You instantly age the moment you have kids. It's pretty true.
Yep.
So, but it has been a season of change.
It has been. And in more ways, obviously, just doing the podcast. Like when I say it's been a season of change, that's not exclusive to after season 1 of the podcast. I'm looking months back. There's some changes that began late last year that are now beginning to bear fruit or beginning to gain steam or beginning to take shape. And they sort of represent a new normal where it's like, okay, so this is what I do now. We record the podcast. And, like Leighton was saying, this is going to be special. We wanted to do a big, awesome opener for the beginning of season 2. And I think we've got another surprise plan for later in season 2. So that'll be fun.
Yep. Stay tuned.
But yeah, so season of change. With Theme Dreams, like obviously, I think I was working on Apex Hunters in 2018, 2019. And I really haven't been able to commit much time to it since. And so one big change is just, I wasn't planning to announce that actually, but I just sort of did. So our first project, we've talked a lot about it, me and Andrew, who's going to be helping me with the development side of it. Just about, because he's going to be learning and onboarding and long story short, with all the design docs before us and all the tinkering and basic prototyping we had done, the decision we came to, or really that I came to and he was on board with, is that our first focus game is going to be Apex Hunters, because it's already halfway there. We're not going to be starting from scratch. It gives him more of a playground to work with in terms of learning Unity and different things. He already has a game he can launch into, and so he can go make a change to, say, the way the dinosaurs react to something and then actually see it. And he can go make, adding weapons or whatnot. He can just emulate what's already there. And so it'll be better as a learning experience, but also since it's already halfway there, we don't necessarily need a full dev cycle. And so that's going to come back to play maybe for the second secret of season 2. I think there might be an opportunity there, which I don't think I've mentioned to you yet, but I'm sure you're seeing things click, and it's like, so stay tuned.
Yeah, I'm just in the dark as you guys are too now at this point. So
yeah, so suffice it to say, there's some cool stuff coming up, and there's other things, outside of Theme Dreams or inside Theme Dreams, but outside of game development, that it's just stuff I've needed to work on for a long time. Really, it's all about working on myself, I guess. Is the biggest part of this season of change. Is it's not easy to do the thing, right? Whatever the thing is. And that's not unique to me, and that's not unique to you. That's not unique to game development. That's not unique to buying a house. That's not unique to going to college. Like, whatever it is that you do, whatever your big task is, your journey, because it's an arc. It's not a one-off thing. It's not a checkbox on a to-do list. Very often you find yourself in life in the midst of a big arc of things that tie into one another and become a chapter of your life. And they're not easy to do. And there's so many plates spinning in the air, and it's like, well, how do I stay the course? How do I stay diligent about this? How do I build the right habits to see these things through and to write a good chapter and not one of those throwaway chapters that everyone skips over, I guess, so Leighton, like, you're in a different place than me, but you've got your own things on the burner. You've got your own company, which is doing very well.
Yes, that's been, I hate to say it's been a surprise because I've been working for it for a long time, but it has been amazing how this year has just changed radically. I've suddenly found myself with a lot of additional work that has been really good. It's allowed me to provide more for my family. It's allowed me to pay for this trip to come out here, to get different equipment, to just, there's little things that I've been wanting to do for a long time, but, been in this, when you start your own business, you don't just start profitable. Yeah. There's years and years of figuring things out, and you learn, there's so many things you didn't realize you needed to know. And I feel like I finally hit that marker where things are starting to flow. There's work coming in. I'm at the point now where I'm considering hiring someone. So it's been a really amazing season of change for me as well, mostly in the work side of things, but, but that kind of trickles down into so many other things. Having money to be able to afford certain activities, to be able to afford certain maybe home improvements or just, stuff in life has been really refreshing after going through a long time of just having to be very frugal to get by.
And just grinding.
Yeah, just grinding.
And it can be a surprise when you're in the midst of a grind and it lasts months or even years, and all of a sudden you wake up and go, whoa, I'm seeing the fruit of the trees I planted so long ago. Mm-hmm. Like with, we were just reading an article on this. People with ADD apparently tend to really like to connect something they hear to something that they experienced. And there's that tendency to wonder, oh, is this like a narcissistic, like, put the spotlight back on me? But very frequently, like, people with ADD will do that because they're trying to plug into what you're saying and actively process it and then be like, oh, I can empathize. This happened to me. You know what I mean? So anyway, excuse me a moment while I ADD out, but I totally get it because I've been in the midst of that season of learning just programming, and it's all coming together now. Like, I'm finally seeing the fruit. I'm finally in a position to really consider firing up Theme Dreams when it's been on the back burner for so long, and finally finish Apex Hunters and, obviously my day jobs and programming. So it's like, yeah, we're finally seeing the fruit of some years of grind. And that's interesting because this being a season of change, we're not only seeing the fruit of what's come before, but we now see the next leg of the journey and the grind that is still to come. Mm-hmm. So what's your perspective, I guess, for your business or for Theme Dreams on the grind that is to come?
Well, when you say that, like, kind of, I want to clarify a little bit, like just predictions of what I think I'm going to experience, or are you saying things I need to learn?
Well, and I suppose to tie it back into how we kind of got out of this topic, yeah, it's about like we've got work to do. We've got challenges we're going to face. We've faced some already, so we know a little bit about what they might look like or what we'll need to do to accomplish them or succeed. What can we be doing at the beginning of this new season to set ourselves up for success? What challenges do we anticipate we're going to face? Anything in that.
Well, for me, I mean, a challenge I anticipate having to overcome is learning how to, I don't want to put this in a weird way. I love working with other people, but learning how to not just work with someone, but to be a manager of someone.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm at the point now where I have enough work that I can't do it all. I need to be focused on continuing to grow more business and so I have to get people that I can trust to do the job. And that's a new challenge I have to figure out how to get ready for. And obviously you can't be fully prepared, but I'm the kind of guy who'll do a lot of research. I'll talk to a lot of people about what things I can do. But that's essentially what I'm anticipating is I need to learn how to manage workflow, how to hand off jobs and trust that they're going to get done, hand off, just all those tasks.
How to train people.
And there's a lot involved in that. And that's something I'm definitely somewhat dreading, to be honest. But I think it's something that I will be able to overcome and get better at. And it's something I need to, because I think that's part of the growing experience as you step forward. And so.
And I'm going to do it again. But I'm in the exact same boat because Andrew's coming on board with development. So he's never really worked with Unity and stuff. So I'm going to be teaching him how that works, or at the very least teaching him how to fish, if not catching the fish for him. And then teaching him how I do things, how I've done things, where the opportunities are for maybe refactoring and improving the code we already have. And then ideally the goal is to say, hey, Andrew, I need 3 new dinosaurs. Here's how you set them up in code. Here's how you create the prefab in Unity. Here's how you set up all their animations, which should already be done, but you still have to pull them together into the prefab and then the animation controller. Go do it, and that's going to be a fun day when we truly can be, 2x productive on Apex Hunters. But there will be a long period of like 0.5x productivity while you're bringing that new team member up to speed.
Yeah.
And that's just kind of inevitable. They simulated it really well in a game called Software Inc., which is an indie game. Kind of reminds me of like, man, it's a simulator management game. It's like a lot of games and not like any of them at once, but like you're building a software development company and you start with your character in a garage. And then invariably you start taking on projects that it's like your character is not finishing in time because they're getting bigger, but they have the amount of money you need. And so then you're going to hire your first employee. And when the employees, like as soon as they walk in the building, everybody on their team gets this massive debuff to productivity because they're simulating the process of coaching and training and bringing someone up. And I always thought that was funny, but like I've seen it, and I've been seeing it at my day job as we've been, hiring people and kind of the entire structure of the business changing. But it's just there's a cost. There's a cost to asking questions. There's a cost. That doesn't mean they're bad, and you absolutely need to ask questions if you're new. And you need to keep asking questions even once you've been there a long time, but understand that they do incur a cost of productivity, of breaking the train of thought of maybe the lead developer you asked or whatnot, because he's got to context switch, answer your question, and then pivot back to what he was working on, right? And so it's just, when you're it and you're able to do everything yourself, you can context switch really fluidly. Because you're like, okay, well, I'm working on this project. Well, now I need to, send it off. And well, now I need to make a copy of it to this drive. And you can just go boom, 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 boom. But when you bring somebody else on board, all of a sudden things are happening out of your control.
Mm-hmm.
And that that's not only a challenge to overcome, but it can be kind of scary when you're used to having complete 100% control over everything and how your company's represented and how things are done.
Yeah, no, it's true. And I think another thing that scares me about the whole thing is the fact that that person is also, I'm providing a source of income for them. And there's a pressure now for me to make sure that work keeps coming in, to make sure that I can continue to pay them, because I don't want to have to let them go or to just, I have to basically cut my income so that I can't provide for my family. And so there's a sense of like, when do you take that next step and can you afford it? And at a certain point, I've just looked at it as I have to get so overwhelmed that I don't have a choice.
Yeah, you've got to be bringing in that other person. You've got to be completing more work than you would have alone.
Yeah.
Because if it's just the same amount of work, you just have another person doing it, then you're going to have that problem where it's just scarcity of resources. Like, okay, now I'm taking a pay cut. And for what? You know what I mean? Like, you as the business owner, it really does have to be, okay, if we bring this person on board, we need to scale up a bit. Maybe, change some of the projects we can take on based on the skill sets involved, whatever it is.
Yeah. So there's a lot of learning to go there. There's definitely going to be a change, but a good one.
Yep.
So yeah, that's kind of the main changes. But something I was thinking about during the same is those are changes that we feel are coming regardless, right?
Yep.
Those are things that we're going to have to overcome. What is something for you? It's not a change necessarily that you have to do, but something that you want. And by that is like maybe a new skill you want to learn, or maybe a goal or something you want to accomplish that is kind of outside that realm, but that's change that you want to do to your life. Like, what's something that you could think of for that?
Well, you know how when we were in high school together and we knew what we wanted and who we wanted to be,
mm-hmm.
and then you grew up a little bit and you realized, oh, I had no idea, And then over time, like, you have those goals that you might set around then, like, oh, okay, so your teacher asks you 5 years from now, where are you going to be? What are you going to be doing? And you have an idea.
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe someone asks you, well, 10 years from now, where do you want to be? How are you going to get there? For me, and I've talked about this on other podcasts, but I was pretty sure I wanted to be a game developer, like working at Bungie, sleeping under my desk, eating pizza 3 meals a day, I was pretty sure I wanted to try my hand at writing and write a novel. And I was pretty sure I wanted to get married and have kids and hopefully own a house. And those have been, remarkable. Each one of those was a massive story arc, like a massive challenge. Challenge sounds weird, but like, you know what I mean? It was a massive story arc filled with its own trials and tribulations and everything. But I'm starting to check some of those off, and I'm starting to, I think C.S. Lewis said something to the effect of like, you're never too old to dream a new dream. And it's sort of like life kind of ends the moment you don't have something you're striving for, right? And so just because you're accomplishing things, it doesn't mean you just go, oh, well, I made it. It's like, okay, what are you going to fill that void with? Like, what's your next step, So I'm kind of figuring out some of those next steps. But one of them I hadn't reasonably accomplished was, writing a novel. And so for me personally, it's probably not going to be a novel anyone ever reads. It's about the act of writing it and about what it grows in me in terms of discipline, in terms of learning that new skill set of, well, how do you outline a novel? How do you set up story arcs and character arcs and how do you foreshadow and seed plot points along the way? And, when do you use a red herring so that it adds intrigue to the scene, but how do you make your reader not feel betrayed when you just turn the whole thing on its head? And it's a fun process. And I used to be a bigger reader. I'm still I like to think I'm a reader, not as much as I need to be, because as Stephen King said, the best writer is going to be an avid reader. Mm-hmm. But it does come down to, there's stories I've loved. I want to tell my own stories. You know what I mean? There's stories that just light that fire in your heart where you just want to sit down as soon as you're done and just write your own story, And it's sort of like the time has come for me to to try that.
Mm-hmm.
And, again, I think Brandon Sanderson wrote like 11 novels before he was published, or he wrote like 7 before he was published, and then like 11, something like that. It was some incredible number. It's probably going to be something similar, right? Like by the time anybody maybe listening to the podcast or whatever has something to read, it's probably going to be multiple novels down the line. But, and then again, maybe I'll do one and say, hey, that scratched that itch, and I need to focus over here now. I don't have the mental, emotional, or temporal resources to commit to doing this again. I've got to just let it go and be like, I did what I set out to do. I reached that summit. I see another summit beyond. I'm not making the rest of that hike. I think I've made that. I've made that call a few different times in life. There was a while where I was really convinced I wanted to see how far I could go in esports. And, I played local LANs. I tried to put a team together multiple times. I ended up joining a league where the team kind of gets put together for you. And there was a bunch of great guys, and we had played through the season. We even played some tournaments outside of that league, because that league in particular was just kind of for fun. But we ended up going and playing a tournament with a cash prize, and we won. And so it was like, okay, I now have $1 per hour amount to put on my Counter-Strike time. Like that's kind of cool. But there came a point where I could see the summits ahead, and I recognized that it would prevent me from accomplishing so many other things to commit everything I needed to do that. And that doesn't mean I don't still enjoy Counter-Strike, and that doesn't mean I might not play in that league again someday. I still might, but I had to let go of the dream of like, okay, can I do this? Can I become a streamer? Can I, because that's a whole world unto itself. Like, okay, you want to compete and stream and be a content creator and all that different stuff. I had to really pour myself more into creativity. Like, okay, yeah, everything I'm doing, whether it's writing a novel or working on a game or kind of building Theme Dreams as a company, doing this podcast, they're all in one world, and I'm keeping myself in this world as opposed to that world for the most part. And so I forget the question.
The question was things that you want to do more for you, like things that
for me,
for you, like less because you're just objectively going to have to overcome things, but versus challenges that you are giving yourself for your own benefit or because you enjoy it, or just goals you're setting for yourself for change.
Writing a novel is one of them. The other one is, and it's kind of a Theme Dreams related thing, part of all that is systems administration. That means I'm going to be needing to put together and maintain my own infrastructure for hosting the game's data, right? Because now I have another developer. Now I need to host it somewhere so that we can push changes back to a root repository and then pull changes back down. There's options like GitHub and GitLab and things, but that's usually just for code. We have gigabytes and gigabytes worth of assets. And so I'm having to dig in and figure out what the best source control, version control solution is. I'm having to set up, do networking, and then set up the server itself so that it's secure, but also gives access to Andrew as needed, and that is systems administration and IT. Again, talking about all these different realms, like that is an entire kingdom unto itself that people can make an entire career out of. And it's like I'm flying in here and trying to learn enough just to be able to get done what we need to get done. But that's something I really do enjoy. And so learning how to be a sysadmin is another way that I've been pushing myself lately and really enjoying.
That's awesome. There's a lot of, it sounds, I don't know, it sounds you
Thank you.
for what I know. So yeah, I don't know. I was thinking for me, I've got a few different goals. Some of them I feel like I've started or accomplished. Like I want to teach myself how to do some music. So I've been playing the piano a little bit. I haven't played for a little while now, but I've kind of taught myself a few songs. I still need to learn more of the fundamentals, but I just kind of was playing around learning the keys.
Yeah.
But one of the things I've thought about that I wanted to try and delve into, at least attempt, is working in Unreal Engine.
Mm.
So Now, you work with Unity.
Yes.
I've touched Unity. I can't seriously say I've worked in Unity. I decided I wanted to try Unreal mainly because my direction of use for it is more in the filmmaking side.
Right.
And for those who probably have listened to the podcast know, I really enjoy Corridor Digital, or you might know as Corridor Crew. They do a lot of work, have done a lot of work using Unreal Engine, and it's been a powerful tool for them to make some amazing content. And I think the tools are only getting better. They've, keep that in metahumans and just some insane facial tracking and the abilities to create some amazing videos. I mean, we're kind of entering now almost like a new level of machinima. So instead of having to use stuff like in the game, they've literally just given you a game engine to build things. So something I'd like to touch on and try and see if I can make some videos with it. But I also figured in the process of me learning how to make it for film, we're going to be learning a lot of fundamentals that can be used to make some games. Yes, and I've got a couple ideas for games that I haven't necessarily discussed with you yet, but that I think would be fun to make, and I just want to see if I could even prototype them.
Oh, yeah.
So that's just all stuff I wanted to play around with, but that's my goal for the year, at least, is to try and see if I could come up with some fundamental games, and then for films, like see if I could make a few personal videos, not just for production, but videos where it's like maybe a YouTube skit or something funny, but utilizing VFX and, a game engine. So
yeah,
the tools are just so accessible now. I mean, Unreal is free. Rokoku, who make, I don't know if I probably butchered saying that. They're a motion capture company, and they make the Rokoku suit. But they've also come out with a software, and I believe it's free. I don't know. Maybe it was just free for a period of time, where you don't even need the suit. You just you move around in front of a blank wall or something, and it can use algorithms to essentially track your motion in 3D space, and you can apply that to any model. Now, I'm certain the suit is more efficient, but for just some generic, fun, goofy stuff, you can do some really cool motion capture with that.
We probably should talk after the podcast, because that is literally one of the obstacles for Apex Hunters is animations right now. And obviously mocap is a quick and dirty way for anybody to animate.
Mm-hmm.
We might need that.
Well, that's just it. It's amazing the crossover that happens now between game development and filmmaking, because the tools are actually starting to become very overlapped.
Right.
So it's really interesting. That's why I kind of figured I would love to delve into this tool. And there was another part I was going to mention too, but it's just a bit the motion capture. There's also tools. Oh, so this is a tool that Corridor used for a video they made recently, where it's a tool where you can take motion capture data, and it's kind of AI, but not. AI is such a blanket term for a lot of things. But essentially, what it does is it looks at your motion data, because usually motion capture data is not very clean.
Mm-hmm.
It can take it and smooth the lines, and if you tell it what you're trying to do, it can essentially help make the motion look more natural. So it shaves off all the hard edges, and it creates a more fluid, natural-looking motion. So you can now merge rough but effective motion capture data with a product that can essentially do a lot of the cleanup for you. Maybe you still do a little bit of tweaking here and there. You've got MetaHuman, which lets you build realistic-looking faces, and then you can use like an iPhone to essentially map out your facial motions, and it will do all the work to make it match.
Wow.
The tools are getting so good, and they're like cheap or free. I mean, and even if you're running a business, it's worth the money.
Yeah, totally. Because this is all sounding like things that I've needed and just didn't. I was like, man, I'm going to have to I'm just going to have to find an animation pack that's close enough.
Well, yeah, there are some good ones. Mixamo is a good one if you're looking for some animation packs, but there's also procedural environment type of things you can do with Unreal. So that's if you want to create really cool stuff. So, and then just the Nani engine that they have is just very good at basically giving real-time looks. So the problem with a lot of 3D programs is what you're looking at is not really, it's a close representation of what you will see at the end, but it's very rough. Yeah. You have to render it out for hours and maybe even a day or so to get the final result, and it may not look right.
Right.
So in Unreal, you can get a pretty clean, good-looking visual, and then you can still let it render out a high quality version of that video, like a rendering engine.
Yeah.
So it's an amazing tool, and I figure since it's free for now, I mean, thank you Fortnite players, you're basically paying for this for me,
subsidizing the forward progress of the game industry and the film industry combined.
Yeah. So I'm kind of excited to try it out. I've got it downloaded. I just have to. I want to do some of the tutorial things and just get the fundamental basics down, but then add a little bit more and add a little bit more. And then I've got a game idea. I shouldn't say I have a game idea. I was pitched a game idea by a close friend of ours. I'll say his name is Ryan.
Right. Okay.
And I'm not going to say the idea on the podcast because I want to leave that, but it's a good idea.
Okay.
A co-op idea. Ooh. And so, Ryan, if you're listening, we'll see how this goes. We're talking about it.
Yeah.
And I think I think Unreal Engine would be a great tool for that specific game. Yeah. So the sky's the limit. It's that constant sense of learning and growing and trying new things. So we talked about the things we have to do and then the things we want to do, and you need a balance of both.
Yeah.
You do need, of course you have life responsibilities. We're husbands, we're fathers, we have a mortgage. We both have mortgages now.
Yeah.
We've got to pay the bills.
Yeah.
But our mental health is important to have that creative outlet, to have that ability to create, and we need that sense of feeling like we're creating things, not just consuming things.
Well, and we need to accomplish things because your day job can become a grind where there's not as clear of a delineation of, it's just projects flow one into the other, and you don't really ever get a moment to stop and sit and breathe and go, I just did that,
Mm-hmm.
The side projects are great for that because, once I've, say, written this novel manuscript, I can slap it on the table and I can be like, hey, I wrote that. And maybe I never come back and revise it or whatever, but it's a very visual, tangible, I can sit there and go, I wrote a novel, And so that's something that you need, is that kind of feedback, that kind of positive, like, hey, you made it, finish line crossed. There may be another finish line, but you need that feedback.
Yeah. I mean, again, we've said this before, but this podcast is an example of a creative outlet for us.
Yes.
And it hits a lot of different boxes. I mean, it's a creative outlet because we get to kind of do research and talk about things we're interested in, which is kind of creative. But we're also, like, technical-wise, we're overcoming obstacles. Even just doing this recording in person, we had to overcome a lot of different obstacles that we weren't quite prepared for because we've never done this.
Yep.
And so there's production, there's editing, but also that's checking a different box, not just learning, growing. It's just having that connection, a friendly connection.
Yeah.
Someone that is similar-minded, someone that understands what you're going through. And so that's what's been good for me anyway, and I'm sure it's for you. It's just that sense of we can talk about things and get to share it with you guys, and I hope you guys resonate with some of this stuff too. And if you do, please leave a comment, reach out to us. We'd love to hear what parts of these podcasts are really connecting with you, because that really means a lot to us. We love hearing those things because it makes us feel like we're doing something that's beyond just us. It's actually affecting other people, but also we're not alone.
Yep.
We don't feel like, wow, we're just two weirdos that just are doing this. It's like there's other people out there that, and it's funny too, because we've talked about this, like, not that we don't overlap. Like I said, there is overlap in what we do, but I tend to focus, I love video and production. You love game development. Yeah. And yet we still find that there's that connection, that common ground. There's a lot of things that we can discuss and relate to. So it's kind of fun getting to see both sides of the industry, seeing where things are different, but also seeing where, like, hey, maybe we should talk about this because that actually could be helpful to me, and what you're doing could be helpful to me.
And well, the main takeaway I've taken from all of this, from the podcast, from working with Andrew on Theme Dream stuff, it starts with an idea that then becomes a project, and then we commit ourselves to it. But because we're talking, it leads to us just spending time together, whether, like with Andrew, like he and I game multiple times a week now. And in doing the podcast, I mean, obviously we talk around the podcast, but I think you and I have done more gaming together of the past couple of months than we had done before,
And we'll be doing more now.
We'll be doing more. And it just makes me wonder, why weren't we doing that anyways? You know, like, that sounds accusatory, but I think we weren't the only ones in that boat. You know, I think a lot of people are probably in that boat of feeling like kind of disconnected from their old friend groups and just kind of isolated and you know, lonely. And it's like, you know, granted, we're all the sorts of people to come together for something like a podcast or whatever. Like, hey, let's go build this thing. Yeah, let's do it. But it just makes me wonder, why didn't we just have a weekly game night anyways? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that everyone goes through that stage of life.
Yeah.
I mean, I say everyone, it's a generalization, but I think most people do.
Yeah.
For me, I think we both went through this, is that we started going our own ways. Like, we have different interests, so we started heavily focusing on those interests, which kind of did bring some distance. But also, you know, I got married, then shortly after you got married, so then we were heavily focused on like building those relationships, which also took time away. And
Yeah.
it was hard to find any level of consistency in life for a while because everything was just so crazy.
Yeah.
And then kids came into the picture, and then you moved.
And each new kid reset that timer.
Yeah, so everything changed. I think that's a normal thing, but we're both now entering a stage of our lives where some of those changes are finally starting to settle. We're now entering the stage of, we've built a foundation. Now we're starting to add the decorations to our life.
We're throwing up the walls. We've got the concrete poured, you know, and so now it's time to put up the walls and actually start building the house.
Yeah, I mean, so I think we're getting there, though. I mean, again, like, now you have a place you've settled into. I have a place to settle into. We both have work that's paying the bills. Our kids are now all getting to a certain age where they still require, obviously, a good amount of time, and we love spending time with our kids, but we can now put a little more time aside because they're a little more self-sufficient. And that's what's kind of, I think it's a bit of a curve. There's a bit of a wave in there. And I think that, you know, there's nothing wrong with that. I do think that, you know, maybe you're right. I think there's a certain level of, we could have. And you know, I think we both look back on that and we're like, but we're not perfect.
Yeah.
No one's perfect. And
I don't know about you. Like, I don't want to speak for you. I'm a major introvert. And just like, if left to my own devices, a lot of everything that's happening, Theme Dreams, The Secret that we're not talking about from like, or that, you know, it's been a couple months now and it'll be a couple months yet to come. Those are outside my comfort zone. And those are things that I wouldn't naturally seek of my own devices. You know what I mean? Like, I can't even remember who proposed this trip, you know, but like, for some people, they just thrive out of the house, around other people or whatnot, you know? So for us being nerds and really thriving being on our own and kind of like lost in our own little worlds, it does require that extra measure of vigilance to be like, I'm going to not isolate. You know, I am going to go do the thing.
Yeah.
I'm going to go see the person. I'm going to make time. You know, it is, and it's not even so, it's important to recognize the truth of the matter, you know, as opposed to being like, oh no, I'm not that way. Man, that sounds terrible. You know what I mean? Like, cause then, you know, once you recognize it for what it is, you're able to, you know, overcome it. Like, complacency is my biggest enemy. And so a lot of the conversations we've had even before starting the podcast about like, wow, you know, let's do this thing. Let's do this thing. Let's do this thing. It's like, I'm constantly at war with my tendency to want to stay at rest and just to be like, hey, what I've got right now is cool. I can cruise like this. You know, It's like, no, I got to push a little further and run a little further and jump a little higher, you know?
It requires a certain amount of management, because one thing I've had to learn very quickly, you can't do everything.
Yep.
And I wanted to do everything. I was young and had a lot of energy, and I'm not old per se, but I'm definitely not in, you know, that young 20-year-old anymore. It's like, and I have more responsibility. When I was younger, there was no one depending on me. I could just do whatever I wanted. So I've had to learn that I have to be very careful with the size of the goal I make and the number of goals that I make. And really, that way I don't overburden myself and feel like a loser, like I haven't accomplished anything. Just set manageable goals. And the good thing is, if you set a goal too low and you achieve it super quick, that's okay. You achieved a goal, and chances are you're probably going to keep going. But you got the ball rolling. But the problem is if you make the ball too big, it makes it a lot harder to get it rolling.
Right.
But if you get it moving quicker, then it will pick up, it'll grow in size and time. And it's like a snowball, right? It's literally the snowball effect.
Literally,
it's easier to start with a small snowball and let it grow than it is to start with a massive one and then try to push that one.
Yep.
So that's, I think, one thing we had to learn too. And that's the problem I ran into, is that I wanted to get married and do this job and do these different things, and still have my friends, but I realized I couldn't do it all, and I ended up having to prioritize, and unfortunately friends fell lower and lower on the priority list. So it's tough. And then, but life finds a way.
Well, and it's easy at when you're younger to almost see every change as a permanent change.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
It's like, oh, well, I guess we're just not going to spend as much time together anymore. Or, I guess friends just aren't really important for that person anymore. It's so easy to be tempted to be like, well, this is just the way things are. But life is just ebbs and flows and seasons, and like waves crashing into shore. They come in, they go out.
Mm-hmm.
And you might think, oh, well, that was kind of cool. I guess it's never coming back in, though. It's, oh, here it comes. And it's coming back in, right?
Yeah.
Like, the waves will always come and go and come and go and come and go. And part of maximizing, like, your efficiency and, like, being able to use that wave and all of the power behind it, like being on a swing set, use all that momentum, it comes down to doing what you can to prepare yourself in between waves, recognizing the wave when it's coming, and then getting ready to ride it. Not just going, oh my gosh, the wave's here, I better jump on my surfboard, but you were already on the surfboard and you were just waiting for the swell to come,
Yeah, and that's what I've heard about a lot of people that really were very successful. It wasn't a lot of it. A lot of people say there's an element of luck involved, but the reason it worked for them wasn't just dumb luck. They were in the right place at the right time, already prepared to catch the wave.
Yep.
And that's it. You just have to make sure you put yourself in the right place so when the wave comes, you can ride it. So I think it's a really good analogy.
Yeah.
And so, but yeah, life is just, ups and downs, but here we are. Look at us. We're two guys.
We're doing it.
Yeah, we're on a couch. We're doing a podcast. It's just been a lot of fun. I think
sure.
I'm excited for where things are going. I got some new things. There'll be everything's going to be continually growing and changing. And hopefully we can talk more about some of these things coming up in the future. Got the big surprise later on. And hopefully we'll continue to have more surprises. Thank you guys for listening. We appreciate just, again, everyone. Even right now we just are a small audience, but we love and appreciate every single one of you guys. And we're glad to be back. Season 2.
Season 2 is here. Give us a like, comment, subscribe on Facebook, YouTube, and wherever fine Orange Team podcast products are sold.
Yes.
Leighton, it's good to have you here.
It's good to be here, Mitch. Thank you all for watching. This has been the Orange Team podcast. I'm Leighton. He's Mitch. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.